I never expected to discover the heart-stopping battles that shaped medieval history. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a quiet afternoon, yet my heart thundered in my chest, foreboding impending chaos. I stumbled upon an ancient tome in the dusty corner of the library, its leather cover cracked and worn. The moment I opened it, a musty scent wafted up, mingling with the thrill of untold stories. Inside were tales of fierce warriors, blood-drenched fields, and flags waving defiantly against the horizon. I read about the Battle of Agincourt, where arrows fell like rain and the cries of the wounded echoed through the night. My hands trembled as I imagined the muddy ground, soldiers fighting not just for land, but for survival, the raw fear palpable in every heartbeat. There was talk of the siege of Jerusalem, described in shocking detail. Can you picture the desperate faces, the fear in their eyes as they faced a seemingly endless horde? I could almost hear the clang of swords and the desperate shouts, feel the heat of battle wrapping around me like a suffocating embrace. Each battle left scars, not just on the land, but on the hearts of those who fought. I learned of noble knights whose honor was overshadowed by the horrors of war. Their frail hopes shattered like glass upon contact with reality. Countless lives lost, families torn apart, dreams buried under layers of grief. The weight of their stories settled on my chest, heavy and suffocating, yet among the chaos, there were whispers of resilience. The undying spirit of people refusing to be crushed by fate. I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me as I read tales of unexpected alliances, where enemies became brothers in arms. The struggle was brutal, but there was beauty in the fight. Then I found an eerie passage. A hint of a battle that had never been recorded before. Unexplained figures rose from the shadows, haunting the lives of those who dared defy kings. My heart raced as I dug deeper into the pages. Names of forgotten heroes danced before my eyes. Who were they? What did they fight for? Just as I was about to uncover the truth, the lights flickered overhead, plunging the room into darkness. I felt a chill creep down my spine, a strange presence surrounding me. The silence was deafening, my breathing quick. What was it that lingered in the darkness? What secrets were left untold? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Unease swept over me as I strained to hear any signs of life beyond the suffocating darkness. The library, my refuge, now felt foreign and frightening. I fumbled through my belongings, searching for my phone, its screen an unlikely beacon of light. As I finally found it and illuminated the page I was on, the words of the ancient tome appeared even more sinister in the dim glow. Something whispered from the depths of the book. My fingers brushed against a passage I had overlooked earlier, revealing a riddle hidden within the tales of past skirmishes. In shadows they gather, beneath the crown they scheme, a legacy forged in battle, a treasure lost in dreams. My brow furrowed at the cryptic message. It sent shivers down my spine, solidifying the feeling that I was no longer alone as whispers grew louder, intertwining with echoes of lost souls. Just as panic threatened to engulf me, a flicker of light broke through the darkness. A candle lit, somehow, amidst the blackout. An elderly librarian appeared at the far end of the room, her long grey hair cascading like a waterfall of silver, illuminating her delicate features. She approached slowly, her face a mask of calm amidst the brewing storm of dread within me. "I'm sorry for startling you," she murmured gently. "The power tends to flicker when the storms roll in strength. There are books here that carry more than just stories. They hold memories, and sometimes, they want to be remembered." Her voice was soft, yet steady, grounding me even as my heart raced. "What do you mean?" I asked, my curiosity overcoming the fear that thrummed within me. "They are vessels, each tale a thread of history. Some threads knot and tangle, creating mysteries that seep into our world." She examined the tome in my hands, her eyes widening ever so slightly. Ah, you've discovered the forgotten Battle of Ravenswood, Haven TU. Few know of it, the ghosts have kept its memory secret for generations. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. Each word she spoke resonated with a truth I was desperate to uncover, yet I feared what lay beneath. What happened at Ravenswood? I pressed, feeling the tension tighten around us. The librarian hesitated, glancing around, as though the shadows themselves were listening. It was a betrayal, born from jealousy and ambition, she whispered. A battle fought not just for territory, but for a promise of power and the desperation of a broken agreement. I leaned closer, enchanted and alarmed. But why keep it hidden? Why not let the world remember? Because some memories are too painful to bear, she replied, sorrow etched into her voice. And some battles should be left in the shadows. Remember, young seeker, knowledge can be a heavy burden. My pulse quickened, adrenaline coursing through me. I was on the precipice of unearthing something monumental, yet I sensed the weight of that knowledge might lead me down an unfamiliar path. I thought of the warriors, their fears and hopes long extinguished, their stories lying dormant. It was an unsettling mix of responsibility and intrigue. As the candle flickered again, casting eerie shapes on the walls, the librarian laid a hand on my shoulder. Her touch felt like warmth in the darkness. In stories, there lies power. But with power comes responsibility. Be wary of what you seek. The heart of history beats in the poems of those who fought and fell. I met her gaze, the urgency of the moment clashing with an overwhelming sense of dread. What if those shadows come for me? What if I disturb something that should stay buried? Sometimes, a light in the darkness can bring unexpected allies, she said, offering me a gentle smile. And sometimes, breaking the silence calls forth those who yearn to breathe life into their tales once more. Before I could respond, the lights flickered back to life, illuminating the room in stark clarity. The librarian took a step back, her features shrouded in shadow once more. She mouthed a farewell and disappeared behind the bookshelves, leaving me alone with an open tome and a heart full of questions. Suddenly, the room trembled ever so slightly, a foreboding tremor that resonated deep within my bones. The tome vibrated against my grasp, and I felt a sudden rush of wind whip through the still air. Amongst the scattered pages, one fell open to a drawing, the haunting image of a knight lost in battle, blooded and broken. But etched beside him were names I recognized, names from my own family tree. My breath caught in my throat as realization dawned, the world narrowing into a dizzying focus. What secret had I unearthed? What price would my quest for truth demand? The heightened calm that accompanied the flickering lights was deceptive, wrapping around me like a thin veil. Every glance to the shadows felt heavy with foreboding, and the tome remained clutched in my fingers as if my grip could keep the world from unraveling further. The librarian's warning echoed in my mind, a mantra woven into my very thoughts: knowledge can be a heavy burden. I took a shaky breath, calling on the remnants of my courage. My family was intertwined with a tale of old, a narrative lost in time. I stepped forward, the air thickening with every move, and approached the drawing that held my ancestors' names, my pulse racing in tandem with an urgency I had yet to understand. The knight bore a striking resemblance to the portraits of my great-grandfather, a man I'd only known through photographs and family stories. The blooded visage embodied valor, yet a painful truth lingered beneath his fierce expression. Could our familial legacy be steeped not only in valor but in a betrayal that had scarred generations? How far back did the echoes of Ravenswood reach within my bloodline? The surrounding whispers intensified, swirling in the air like haunting melodies just beyond comprehension. I scanned the page's edges, hoping desperately for more insights, clues to unravel the knot of secrets woven through time. But it wasn't just the past that loomed, the present felt charged with an unsettling energy. Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind me, pulling me from the depths of my thoughts. I turned to see a figure shrouded in shadows just beyond the bookshelf, unwilling to reveal its identity. My heart raced anew, uncertainty flooding my senses. "I've been waiting for you," came a voice, low and slightly raspy, as if dust had collected in its depths over years unspent. When the figure stepped into the light, I recognized him not as a stranger but as a local historian, one whose tales of the past danced on the lips of the townsfolk during quiet evenings in the pub. He was known for weaving vivid stories, but the glint in his eye suggested something more dangerous lurked beneath his charming facade. "Mr. Calder? What are you doing here?" I stammered, a mix of fear and curiosity wrestling within me. What did he know about the shadows that had begun to draw closer around me? "I want to help you," he said, an odd sincerity wrapping each word. "You've stumbled upon something dangerous, something that the community has buried for a reason. The drawings, they call to you, don't they? The past isn't done with you yet." My stomach twisted in knots, parsing his insight. There was no denying that a weight, though unfamiliar, had clung to me ever since I felt the tremor beneath my feet. Help? But at what cost? I countered, the inkling of betrayal curling through my thoughts like smoke. The historian stepped closer, lowering his voice. "There are factions within the town that seek to control that knowledge, to keep it hidden. But the true stories, the empathy, the passion, the fears of those who fought need to surface. You can be a vessel for their tales, connect the past to the present." I examined him, searching for signs of manipulation or malice. Instead, I saw a flicker of hope reflecting a path unrevealed, one that could restore balance between the histories of the living and the dead. Yet I also knew that every path came with its shadows. "I don't even know where to start," I admitted slowly, my heart racing in this unpredictable dance. "Let us begin with the names. If you can dig deeper, uncover the ties of kinship, we can unravel their pain together," he urged, eyes glinting with an enthusiastic fire. "But be warned, not all secrets yearn to be freed. Some are buried for a reason." The librarian's words rang true in the back of my mind, a repetitive reminder of the burden I now faced. And what if these shadows pursue me? What if they seek revenge on those who dare disturb their rest? The question filtered out, scattered amidst the air heavy with longing and fear. His gaze hardened, the weight of his knowledge a palpable presence. "Then we prepare. And we embrace unexpected allies. You may find more than just ghosts. Some may wish to fight alongside you, to reclaim a narrative stolen long ago." I tried to swallow the tide of uncertainty building within me. What if I inadvertently become a target too, caught in a web I'm not equipped to navigate? The line between bravery and folly felt disturbingly thin. For a moment, he held my gaze in firm resolve, as if seeing a wellspring of potential I was too afraid to accept. "You are already a target simply by knowing. But together, we can wield these stories into shields and swords. The only way to escape the weight of the past is to confront it head-on. Will you take this leap?" In that brief lull, with every heartbeat echoing in my ears, I understood that I was standing at a precipice, staring into an abyss lined with echoes of the past I hardly knew. But unexpectedly, a flicker of hope ignited a question of identity that yearned for answers. I took a breath, readying myself to step into the unknown. "All right," I finally said, my voice steadying. "Let us uncover the truth of Ravenswood together." But even as words left my lips, a shiver raced through the room, punctuated by a sudden chill. The tome in my grasp began to tremble once more, a low hum escaping it that pierced through my resolve. A page fluttered free, casting an image onto the floor, a family portrait I'd never seen before, faces I felt inhabited my blood. An urgent message whispered in the space between life and law, a warning or a beckoning. And the shadows deepened, waiting. The room pulsed with energy, the flicker of candlelight stuttering in rhythm to the unsettled air. I knelt down to retrieve the escaping page, a beacon of mystery illuminated at my feet. The family portrait was old, edges frayed, and the faces were painted with an ethereal quality that both mesmerized and terrified me. Each pair of eyes seemed to bore into my soul, searching, pleading, and perhaps warning against unearthing what lay buried. "Is this?" I began, my voice trembling on the precipice of recognition. "Could they be my ancestors?" Mr. Calder looked over my shoulder, an expression of awe momentarily flashing across his face before being replaced by something more somber. "Yes. You can see it in their eyes, the weight of history shaped their lives. They are bound to the tale that intertwines your own." The shadows around us pulsed, as if sensing the unveiling of this lineage. The once inviting understanding inside me was muddled by fear. These ancestral ties felt like chains threatening to drag me into their depths. "What do you mean by a tale? What did they endure?" His response came hesitantly, steeped in sorrow. A battle, yes, but not all wars are fought with swords. Sometimes, the most powerful battles are those of the heart, betrayals, losses, and the relentless pursuit of redemption. Your family was entangled in a web of loyalty and treachery that left its marks across generations. The historian's words transformed the flickering shadows into a sinister reminder of all that was lost. But why me? Why now? I whispered, overwhelmed by the enormity of my bloodline's history and the burden I was now expected to carry. Perhaps they chose you, he offered slowly, his gaze never wavering. To bring light where darkness has thrived. Perhaps they've waited centuries for someone to reclaim their narratives and defend them from those who wish for their tales to remain hidden. His belief sparked something in my chest, an ember igniting amidst the shadows of doubt. But it was quickly suffocated by the lingering fear of the unknown. And the shadows seeking revenge? What if they come for me? For their stories told? He had no immediate answer, only a deep furrowing of his brow that suggested he hadn't considered the ramifications of such meddling. Suddenly, the air bore witness to underlying tension and newfound urgency. We'll need to prepare, he said finally, his tone commanding respect despite its raw edge of fear. But first, we should gather more information. The more you know, the better equipped you'll be. Perhaps in the comfort of knowledge, I could lay the ghosts of the past to rest without raising their ire, but couldn't he shake the growing unease inside me? Would illumination bring clarity or merely ignite greater chaos? We're both nearing the ultimatum that confronts Eve, both historian and novice, alike in our pursuit but set apart by the wisdom of time. What can I do? I asked, sensing that my resolve may be stronger than I perceived. Let me guide you through the histories buried in the local archives, he instructed, a warmth radiating with the promise of animated exploration. You may not yet grasp the significance of this portrait, but unseen forces will reveal their wake, the good, the bad, and the beautiful. As we left the library, the night had deepened into a velvet cloak dotted with stars, each one twinkling like distant whispers of encouragement or warning. But amidst the stillness, an intuitive pulse flickered in the back of my mind, a silent promise that something more awaited me on this path of revelation. At the heart of the village, a small shack transformed into a repository of forgotten lore awaited us, cloaked in fragments of history that had thrived in dim corners. On the threshold, I felt a longing to reach through the fabric of this reality and connect with the tremors of the past, a bridge of remembrance spanning generations. With each doorway we passed, every breath seemed a step deeper into a mystery waiting to unfold, yet shadows clung persistently to the periphery. The historian, now a companion of sorts, paused outside the shack, examining my face for signs of hesitation. Are you ready? Whatever we uncover, prepare yourself. They don't fade quietly. I steadied my breath, firming the fragile flame of determination. I am, I asserted, even as unease twisted in my gut. But the moment we stepped over the threshold, a sudden cacophony echoed through the confines, a shattering sound too violent for mere coincidence. A gust of wind whipped inside the shack, flinging open dusty tomes and casting papers to the air. Stay close, Mr. Calder shouted, the sudden darkness coiling around us like a living being. As I gripped his arm, something crashed behind us, an unholy growl surging through the walls like a predator honing in on its prey. And then, within the panic, I saw a flash, an apparition flickering in and out of the air like a forgotten memory, its gaze locked onto mine. This spectre bore the resemblance to one of the figures in the portrait, a woman, wild-eyed, a fire burning desperately in her presence. Run! Calder shouted, but I was frozen, ensnared by the intensity of her gaze, the echoes of sorrow woven into my ancestors' struggle. A flood of recognition coursed through me, a tether as haunting as it was entwined with fate. Before I could move, she whispered a name, her voice a haunting wind that filled the confines of the shack, and everything echoed with a chilling finality. Her plea was clear: you have to understand, before it is too late. Panic surged through the air, mingling with the dust motes that danced in the candlelight, deepening the shadows around us. I tore my gaze from the spectre, instinct pulling me back toward Mr. Calder, who was already scanning the room for an escape route. Yet, something held me tethered to this moment, a magnetic force, whispering truths I had not yet fathomed. Understand what? I tried to shout, my voice lost amid the chaos swirling around us. The apparition flickered, struggling to maintain form, but all I could register were those eyes etched with desperation, yet glimmering with faint hope. "Run!" Mr. Calder's voice thundered against the growl that roared from the far end of the room, draining the heat from my blood. Compelled by the urgency in his command, I turned, but the woman's voice pierced through the cries of the night, solid and real, like petals falling from a dying flower. "The truth lies within the shadows, your heart holds the key." In that moment, reality hung by a thread, vibrating with the weight of something monumental. My breath caught as the vision of the woman solidified in my mind, images of burning villages, feuding families, and a struggle for redemption unfurled like a tapestry woven with pain. Each thread a battle, each color a memory lost but begging to be found. Suddenly, the growl morphed into a roar, filled with a malevolence that resonated with every bone in my body, yanking me back to the present. "Now!" I shouted, urgency mingling with the fear coiling tightly around me. Together, we sprinted from the shack, the wild night swallowing us whole. Strip after strip of the village's secrets blurred past as I glanced back, only to see the woman's figure dissolve into the shadows, her hands raised as if to shield herself from what was coming. I stumbled, emotions battling within me: fear, anger, and an unexpected kinship with a history that felt more like a shackle than a legacy. Once we reached the safety of the street, the night was eerily quiet, disquieting the breathless rhythm of my heart. The village was still, as if the incident inside the shack had pulled all light and sound into a black hole. "Did you see her?" I blurted, desperation saturating my voice. She knew something. She wanted me to understand. Mr. Calder glanced around defensively, his brow heavy with worry. "Understand what?" "Those shadows loom darkly, and her connection to you may be more perilous than you realize." "But that was my ancestor," I protested, sweat clinging to my temple. "She was trying to reach out to me." "There's a reason she appeared." "A reason, yes, but one burdened with the weight of caution." He stepped closer, lowering his voice, threading fear into his words. "We should not linger here. If the spirits stir, others will come. We need to uncover their narrative, for your safety and theirs." A shiver pierced my spine as I considered the spectre lurking in the depths of my bloodline. Did I truly understand what it meant to bear my family's history? Could I carve a path from the chaos they had left behind? Driven by a sudden impulse, I reached for his arm again, anchoring myself amidst my whirling thoughts. Where do we start? The archives? What was she trying to tell me? His gaze softened momentarily, the tension easing just enough for a flicker of trust to pass between us. "We start with those who remember," he replied, determination igniting his words. "The elders. They hold stories of the past that may yet tell your present." As we made our way through the deserted streets toward the village square, I caught glimmers of life, light spilling from windows, laughter spilling from hidden corners, things that signaled normalcy even when chaos loomed on the fringes. Yet, an unexpected wave of dread washed over me. Would any of these people understand the mantle I was beginning to wear? The connection I had to my family's legacy, but when we reached the elder's home, a sense of hope emerged. The cozy structure emanated warmth and kindness, flickering candlelight framed the aged windows, and the inviting aroma of herbs wrapped around us. I took a deep breath, allowing the soothing atmosphere to wash away earlier fears, if only for a moment. "Grandmother Elder is ancient," Mr. Calder murmured, pausing at the door. "Her memories reach far beyond this village. When she speaks, listen closely, she may guide you to the truth you seek." With renewed determination, I nodded, pushing the door open, the soft creak sounding like a whispered invitation into a treasure trove of wisdom. Inside, the elder's presence was potent, wrapping around us like a comforter. "Child of the past, seeker of truth," she began, her voice melodic yet weighted with understanding. "You stand at the threshold of battles fought long ago, and yet, they still echo in your heart." I inhaled sharply, fighting against the pull of fear that coiled in my chest. I want to understand." I stumbled over my words, desperate for guidance, for strength amid the daunting revelation that I was entwined in a tale that stretched beyond mere history. The elder stepped closer, her gnarled hands enveloping mine, warmth radiating from her touch. "Then prepare yourself, for the shadows hold secrets that dare to be revealed but not without sacrifice. To understand your lineage, you must confront its darkness." In that electric moment, the weight of her words bore down upon me, igniting something deep within, a promise that was half a plea and half a challenge. But just as that flicker of hope began to swell, the atmosphere shifted with a sudden intensity. An ominous sound echoed outside the home, a howl that sliced through the night like a haunting flurry of echoes, sharp and full of hunger. Grandmother Elder's grip tightened, and I felt the collective consciousness of our shared history bear down on me like a living entity, waiting for the unraveling. "Prepare," she urged, her voice steady despite the tremors in the air. "The past is restless, and the stories are desperate to be told, but you will find that understanding comes at a great price." Just then, a figure loomed against the threshold, silhouetted in the dim light, a shape familiar yet horrific, seemingly drawn from the depths of the darkness that had hunted me. My heart raced as I recognized the figure, and my world spun, the promise of understanding fraying at the edges, fracturing into untold chaos. "Your time has come," it whispered, a voice laced with echoes of anguish and fury. "And the battles are far from over." The figure stepped into the flickering light, its features obscured by a veil of shadow. Instinctively, I took a step back, but the ghostly visage held me captive, mesmerized by a swirling blend of familiarity and dread. It was as if I were peering into a mirror reflecting not only my own anguish but the collective sorrow of a lineage steeped in conflict. "Your time has come," it repeated, the words rolling off its tongue like an incantation. A chill swept through the room, snaking its way around my spine and settling deep in my bones. What are you?" I stammered, my voice trembling, echoing my fear. "An echo of the past," it replied, an unsettling calm threading through the chaos. "One who fought for loyalty, one whose heart was broken by betrayal." As the voice reverberated in my mind, I felt a surge of memories not my own, images of knighthood and betrayal, of loyalty severed by greed and vengeance. My heart pounded against my chest, each thump was like thunder, resonating with emotions I had yet to fully comprehend. "Let go of your fear, child," Grandmother Elder whispered firmly beside me, though her eyes reflected the storm of uncertainty that hung in the air. "The spirits do not deceive. They bear messages meant for you, meant to guide you." I flinched at the word guide. The weight of my ancestry pressed down harder, and I could feel my resolve waver like a flickering flame. "But what if I'm unworthy? What if I fail to understand? What if the future is intertwined with the past?" Elder interrupted gently, her voice both soothing and urgent. "You inherit strength as much as you inherit burdens. The shadows seek resolution. They have chosen you for reasons that ripple far beyond your understanding. But I didn't want to bear that weight. I wanted to choose my path, free from ghosts and fanfare of old enemies. I was not a warrior, I was only a young woman thrust into a realm of ancient grievances." With a breath, I focused on the looming figure, determined to find clarity amid the chaos of my emotions. "What do you want from me?" I asked, searching for conviction in my own voice. "Your lineage whispers to you through the veil of time," it responded, moving closer, gliding like mist. "You must delve into the battles they fought, hear the unsung laments threaded in your bones. Only then can you find the freedom to forge a new story." "Forged in pain," I muttered, letting the weight of the truth settle around me. "And what if I don't want to become a piece of the past? What if I want to break free?" "A battle within itself," it retorted, the shadows swirling around its form like ink in water. "Making peace with the past is not the surrender of your will but an embrace of power. Only when you acknowledge their stories can you redefine your own." Time slowed as I grasped the depth of its words. Every moment of turmoil woven into my lineage had contributed to my being, and in resisting it, I had become a stranger to myself. My breath hitched, an unwelcome connection pulling at my heart, each painful memory whispering promises of understanding that felt tantalizing yet terrifying, and then, in a heartbeat, the atmosphere shifted again. The shadows that had cloaked the figure began to churn and growl, feral and fierce, threatening to erupt. "The battles are not just in memory," it warned. "They resurface in the present, ready to engulf you. Prepare yourself." "What do you mean?" I gasped, panic bubbling within me. "How? How do I prepare?" Suddenly, the air in the room thickened, laden with turbulence. A cacophony of anguished cries danced through the walls, the remnants of battles long fought, echoing as though they were trapped in an eternal struggle. Elder stepped forward, her voice breaking through the turbulence with authority. We must act swiftly. If the spirits are restless, it might mean that the answers you seek will not simply arrive on their own. The resolve of your bloodline demands action. As she spoke, the weight of her words stitched themselves into my bones, the need for proactive courage igniting a fire deep within my core. But just as a flicker of determination sparked in my chest, the shadows swirling outside the home erupted into an upheaval, casting foreboding shapes against the windows. Oh God! I cried, feeling the essence of an imminent storm real and metaphorical raining down upon us. They are here. What do we do? Grandmother Elder turned toward the door, her presence regal even in the face of impending chaos. We face the unknown together, child. Light needs shadow to know its own brilliance. As we prepared to step into the chaos, the familiar figure spoke once more, its voice cutting through the turmoil. You cannot turn from destiny, nor can you wield it alone. The battles you confront will forge the warrior within you, but tread carefully, for the price may come from those you hold dear. I froze, dread coiling so tightly around my throat I could scarcely breathe. What do you mean? What price? The past hungers for acknowledgement, it whispered, its form rippling like smoke. And to bring peace may demand sacrifices greater than you can bear. My heart dropped as the revelation hit. Unseen forces were gathering, and now, with peril at my door, I wrestled with a profound truth: the fight was not just mine alone, others would be pulled into the storm of my lineage. As the door creaked open, the gust of oppressive air swept past us, blowing the realms of understanding and revelation wide open. As I stood on the precipice of inevitable chaos, there would be no turning back now. The air crackled with tension as the door swung wide, revealing a dark storm threatening to engulf us. The moments I had before stepping into the chaos felt suspended in time. My heart raced, thundering like a war drum, a foreboding echo of the battles that awaited us. Stay close, Elder urged, her voice steady despite the chaos swirling around us. I nodded, though my throat felt dry, and the weight of dread settled like a stone upon my chest. The shadows flared around us, and I felt the energy shift, a pulse of something ancient and powerful beckoning from deep within the storm. We stepped outside, the winds howling, carrying whispers of those who had fought before us. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting their sorrow wash over me, consuming the fear of my own inadequacies. I was here not just to face the unknown but to listen, to learn. Maybe even to find my own place in the stories of the past. The storm howled like a wounded animal, and as I opened my eyes, I saw them: figures shrouded in darkness, apparitions from the depths of history embodied in the tempest. Warriors bound by unresolved pain and anger, waiting for someone to acknowledge their sacrifices. Can you hear them? Elder's voice broke through my reverie, urgent but calm, like a lighthouse amidst a roiling sea. They seek a voice. I felt a pull towards them, an irresistible urge to step forward despite the anxiety that twisted within me. As I hesitated, a flicker of light pushed its way through the oppressive shadows, a golden thread that shimmered among the dark. My heart surged with hope, a beacon amidst despair. Let go of the weight of your fears, Elder whispered, placing her hand gently on my shoulder. Let the light guide you. It is the heart of those who love, those who sacrifice, that is what you need to convey. I opened my heart, allowing the stories to weave into my spirit. I hear you, I breathed, feeling their pain resonate within. I understand, but I need you to help me. I am not a warrior, not by blood, my strength comes from a different place. Let me tell your story. As the words tumbled from my lips like a release, the apparitions paused. The winds calmed momentarily, and in that stillness, I saw flickers of recognition in their eyes. There was power in vulnerability, a bridge connecting us across ages, but as I spoke, the shadows grew restless again, boiling like tempestuous seas. You must act. This is not enough. They barked in a chorus, their voices rising like a crescendo, demanding action. Fear nipped at my heels, insistent and unforgiving. Then, as if to punctuate their demand, the ground trembled violently, cracking beneath us. I stumbled, grappling for grip on the earth, my heart racing as I realized our connection to this realm could unleash the very anger that had chained these spirits in a cycle of suffering. Elder, I cried, the terror of losing myself in the maelstrom bubbling over. What do they want? What do I need to do? They require your strength of heart, Elder said, her eyes steady, now more resolute than ever. To give voice to their suffering may release them, but you must also be willing to face the cost. What cost? I pleaded, fear stitching doubt into my thoughts. The thread of the past will always be a part of you. Once you begin to mend the fabric, the reality of centuries of hurt may demand something precious in return. You cannot alter history without changing yourself. As the shadows clawed at the edges of my mind, swirling with desperate pleas for recognition, I caught a glimpse of movement at the edges of the storm, familiar figures darting into view, innocent faces intertwined with the gathering darkness. My heart lurched at the sight. It was my family, standing on the precipice of that storm, unknowing of the forces swirling around them. No? You can't. I shouted, horror and urgency combining as I lunged toward them, instinctively wanting to shield them from the chaos that had coiled around my lineage and now seeped dangerously close to our present. Arya. Elder's voice was fierce, pulling my focus back to the swarm of spirits. Baring their teeth, restlessness spiraling to a breaking point. They need you. Your family needs you. You can't just run from this. Tell me what I need to do. I shouted back, adrenaline surging through my veins. I will not let them suffer for my mistakes. As the ground quaked again, the apparitions surged forward, their cries of pain and anger drowning out all reason. I understood then I could not simply acknowledge them. I had to unite their stories, give them a voice while facing the tempest of retribution that would follow. Their cries morphed into shadows that enveloped me, each heartbeat drumming my resolve louder. Suddenly, from within the tempest, I saw one figure break free, a warrior's spectral form, piercing through the chaos to stand beside me. Do not falter, descendant, he urged, his voice layered in history. Embrace this moment, for it shall shape what comes next. An eternity of strife or the birth of understanding. Choose wisely. And in that moment, I understood there was no turning back. The battles that had raged through time now swirled violently around me, but they needed more than a witness, they needed a herald. Those who had once fought in shadows now looked to me, eager for their stories to be told. Together, I whispered to them, standing at the bridge between the past and present, my heart aching with purpose. We shall confront this storm together. But as I prepared to embrace the tempest, an echo of fear lingered. The faces of my loved ones haunted my mind, a burden stitched tightly to my heart. As the winds howled, the stakes became clearer, and I grasped a crushed note of resolve but felt a shudder run through. Prepare for the cost, the warrior said ominously, and the shadows pressed closer still, emboldened by the promise of the fight, but as I braced for impact, I could not help but wonder if the price demanded would be greater than I feared. My heart raced, my pulse rising because I now understood that as I stood tall, wielding not only my story but the fabric of family entwined across epochs, it was not just a reckoning for me, but for all who dared to carry the weight of the past. In that moment, as the storm roared to life, one truth stood starkly clear: the impending battle may claim my heart and more, but I would have to fight, or risk losing everything I held dear. The shadows surged, and I stepped toward the chaos, unwilling to surrender my heart. The storm was relentless, cacophony of cries and howls swirling around me, each gust plunging deep into my chest, merging the weight of history with the enormity of my present. I stood at the precipice, teetering between the charged energy of the past and the frightening unknown of my choices. It was a battle, not only of forces but also of hearts ancient and present intertwining in a dance too chaotic yet eerily synchronized. Together, I whispered again, hoping to bind the desperate voices around me into a single, resonant cry. The shadows loomed, tightening their grip, but as I steadied my resolve, I caught a flicker of warmth within the frigid darkness, a gentle reminder of why I was here. Arya. Elder's voice pierced through the storm, her eyes aflame with courage and determination, grounding me amidst the tempest. You must remember what you fight for. It's more than their stories, it's your own. You hold the key to acknowledge every sacrifice, every heartbreak. You carry their legacy and your family's love. Her words ignited something within me, like kindling to a fire long buried beneath layers of fear. I thought of my parents, their sacrifices, and the whispered stories they would share at night, tales that once felt distant, now taking root in my soul. I thought of my little brother, sparkled with laughter but still too innocent to understand the weight resting upon our lineage. The moment sharpened, a crystallized clarity as another crack rent the ground beneath me, sending shadows crashing together as if summoned by my thoughts. But rather than fear, I felt a flicker of hope, ignited not just by my will but by the very essence of love that flowed from my family. "I see you," I cried, letting my voice carry over the storm. "I acknowledge your pain, your fight, and your undying courage. Your stories deserve to be told." In that declaration, I felt something shift, a connection, a binding force igniting from within. The apparitions, once obscured by despair, began to straighten, their forms shifting with an ethereal glow. "Do not fear," the warrior beside me said, echoing my sentiment. "We shall fight, but first, give us your truth." The winds howled louder, carrying the cries of past battles raging at the edges of my consciousness. The tempest roiled, a violent manifestation of grief and fury. I stepped back, the voices echoing, demanding and terrified, energies blending into one tumultuous sea, yet I focused on the light that coursed through me. "Stay with me," I pleaded softly to the shadows as they flickered with anticipation. "Together, we can find peace." A great gust roared forth, and suddenly, light crackled around my fingertips, brightening the storm as though courage itself had taken form. I drew in a deep breath, letting that luminescence spread and unfurl outward, a tendril of color piercing through the cadence of anger and animosity. "There is strength in unity," I announced, letting the warmth touch each shadow as it wrapped around my spirit like a protective cloak. "You fought for your freedom. You sacrificed your lives for a future that echoes in mine. Let the tales of compassion and grief rise. Let us mend." In that moment, a piercing scream erupted from the depths of the storm, a primal sound filled with centuries of anguish, urging me to recoil. The ground tremored, but rather than succumb to despair, I held fast. "I hear you," I declared, pushing against the tide, desperately seeking to illuminate the truth that lay hidden beneath the darkness. A flicker of recognition swept across the faces of warriors, their expressions softening as their anguish mingled with the catharsis of release. "The truth will shatter the chains," the warrior urged, stepping beside me with renewed zeal. "But be warned, the past does not forget. Remember the ones who love you." Before I could respond, the storm surged forward, pressing against my shoulders like an insistent tide. I locked eyes with Elder, feeling the raw energy surge through us both, gathering strength from our bond as I set my focus on the embers of the battle that raged within. "I will fight for all of you," I vowed, feeling the weight of my family and the spirits blending, an overwhelming rush of love and resilience filling every inch of my being. But even as the shadows around us wavered, I remained acutely aware of the storm's undercurrent, a relentless threat buzzing at the edges of clarity, a potential cost that hung precariously in the air. Then came a shattering cry, louder than all else, breaking through the layered shadows, one that stirred my heart with a chilling realization. It was my mother's voice, echoing as though trapped between worlds. "Arya, don't lose yourself." The earth shook violently as I stepped back, grappling with the weight of her warning. "Mom?" I gasped, feeling the connection threaten to tear in that moment. The shadows lurked closer, eager to consume, resentful and angry, the spirits swirling like a tempest reclaiming their right to be heard. "Do not turn away," the warrior urged, an iron determination in his gaze. "The fight is not for glory, Arya, but for remembrance. You must stand, or lose everyone you love." And as the storm clamored for my attention, I couldn't shake the intuition that the echoes from my family were not only warnings but revelations, their love entwined with my struggle to confront the truth of our shared past. The impending battle was not solely with the specters of history but the very essence of those I adored. With the tempest roaring louder and shadows tightening their grasp, I faced the overwhelming tide, heart pounding against the uncertainty of what lay ahead. I understood then, as the very air crackled with electric tension, that the price I had to pay would demand more than just my voice. The heart-stopping battle we fought would shake the roots of our existence, and I would have to navigate the choices of sacrifice, bravery, and love. "Embrace the legacy, Arya," Elder cried, her voice filled with fervor. "It's not just your story, it's ours." I took one last look back towards the familiar faces at the storm's edge before plunging fully into the chaos, a world alive with energy that could either bind us through understanding or sever the ties that linked our heartbeats across generations. As the winds howled louder, I steeled myself, heart racing with fierce determination, ready to weave the fabric of our lives. But as I reached for the heart of the storm, I couldn't help but feel a chilling sensation prick at my skin. The past breathed its final warning. And somewhere, in that swirling chaos, the truth wove its way forward, revealing a thread of betrayal that threatened to unravel everything I believed. As I plunged into the chaos, the storm enveloped me, its electric energy clawing at the edges of my consciousness. The air was thick with urgency and dread, a tempest born of centuries of sorrow and passion, fighting to break free. Yet amidst the clamor of voices, I sought clarity, the essence of truth pulsing beneath the tumult, a heartbeat that resonated with every whispered tale from my lineage. "Embrace it," Elder shouted, her voice a beacon in the swirling darkness. "Let the past guide you, but do not let it bind you." I concentrated, pushing through the weight of regret that clawed at me, remembering my family's stories, weaving them together like a tapestry of resilience. I felt the warmth of their love bolster my resolve, wrapping around me like a protective cocoon, a refuge amidst the storm. I was no longer just Arya, I was the vessel of their legacies, and I felt their strength coursing through me like wildfire. But as I moved deeper into the heart of the storm, shadows writhed and twisted, revealing glimpses of the past that evoked both awe and horror. The anguished faces of warriors, flickering in and out of focus, held stories that pressed against my soul like a weight it could barely bear. Their pain was palpable and raw, echoing like a relentless drum in my chest. "Remember our battles," a voice boomed, the words wrapped in a desperation that pierced the air. I glanced towards the origin of the sound and found a figure emerging from within the shadows, a tall warrior draped in tattered armor, his eyes fierce yet haunted. "We fought for our freedom, but our sacrifices have been twisted into chains." I felt an electric surge race through me upon hearing the words. The gravity of his claim pressed down upon my heart. What had I truly understood about the sacrifices made by those who came before me? My resolve faltered momentarily, replaced by an overwhelming fear of the unknown revelation. What secrets lie buried beneath our history? I thought, my heart racing as I sought to break free of not just the storm, but the darkness it wrought. "Face it head on," the warrior implored, sensing my hesitation. "Your lineage is not merely a reflection of valor but of betrayal. You must uncover the full truth to mend what has been broken." With a sharp intake of breath, I steeled my resolve. Betrayal. The very word curled around my mind like a shackle. I sought the warmth of my family's spirit to fortify me against the chill of that revelation. Was there a hidden stain in our legacy? Something that shattered the image I had painted of my ancestors' sacrifices as purely noble? The storm roared in approval, eager for my introspection, but as I looked deeper into the eyes of the shadows, the opacity of the truths began to peel back, revealing their layered complexity. Memories danced before me, vivid yet fragmented, each one echoing a different facet of our history. "Your decisions have consequences, Arya." Elder S' voice cut through the tempest, commanding my attention with a fierce urgency. "What will you do when the truth threatens to shatter everything you believe in?" A chill snaked down my spine. Facing the reality of betrayal felt paralyzing. Could I bear the additional weight, the desperate knowledge that not all our ancestors acted with integrity? But I understood one immutable truth: my journey wasn't just about wielding the past to fight a present monster, it was to reconcile the very inconsistencies that made us human. Drawing on the light that flickered within me, I spread my arms wide, enveloping those shadows with warmth. "Tell me your stories. I must see the whole truth, however painful. Only then can we find our peace." And then it happened. The storm opened up around me, peeling away layers as the echoes of voices began to coalesce, weaving narratives that ebbed and flowed like the ocean's tide. I saw glimpses of deception intertwined with bravery, cunning actions buried among the noblest of intentions. Each whisper revealed a new layer, revealing alliances forged not just in dreams of freedom but in blood-soaked compromises that shaped our lineages. In that whirlwind of fragmented echoes, one truth emerged crystal clear: the deepest betrayals are often wrapped in love, forged by desperation. My throat tightened as I recognized that my ancestors were not merely heroes, they were flawed, human beings navigating the treacherous landscape of war and survival. "Remember this, Arya." The warrior's voice thundered, the intensity drawing my focus back to him. "Forgive, But do not forget. This battle is not just for you, it's for the chance to rewrite the end of our tale, to honor those who fought without understanding the true implications of their choices. Without warning, the tempest surged forward, crashing against my body with ferocity, and the once comforting warmth started to fade. I stumbled backward, gasping for balance as the shadows grew darker, looming ominously. "Mom!" I cried out, the tenuous connection still binding me to her distant presence. "I need you, you are my light." But the world transformed, shadows swallowing any semblance of the path forward. The cries of my ancestors erupted around me, cacophony that shook my very core. I felt shadows melding with vibrancy, desperately seeking to reattach themselves to me, and then suddenly silence. A bone-chilling stillness filled the void. Arya, a whisper emerged amid the quiet, a voice that was achingly familiar. It was my mother, softer now, like a lullaby encased in heartache. "Don't let their darkness consume your light. I am with you always, but you must choose." A choice. My heart hammered in my chest as the realization struck. The choice wasn't about confronting the shadows, but about anchoring my love amidst their chaos. I focused on that radiant ember. It flickered, fluttering alive at the thought of my family, their love, their sacrifices, and I swore to honor them, even as I braced for revelations that could shatter my world. But as I summoned that resolve, the darkness coiled tighter around me, a chilling whisper sowing seeds of doubt. "You think you can change us, little one?" It hissed, a disembodied voice filled with malice. "You know nothing of the price you'll pay for the truth, nothing." And in an instant, I was faced with an awful realization: if the truth could indeed unravel, who would be left standing to remember those tales? The air crackled with dark energy, and in that moment, as shadows threatened to swallow my spirit, I understood that redemption could only be forged through understanding, a choice between warring legacies. "Mother, guide me!" I shouted against the tempest, heart racing as the shadows swirled, their chilling breath inching closer. In that haunting moment, a familiar sensation gripped my heart, a pang of urgency, an urgency mirroring Elder S' unwavering determination. Nothing prepared me for the terrifying revelation that loomed, that the very history I sought to reclaim could cut deeper than the losses already weighing on my soul. And as I navigated the evolving landscape of my family's truths, I could only hope that the strength of their love would light my way and protect me from the deeper betrayals yet to be discovered amidst the weight of our shared legacies. The storm raged around me, a living embodiment of the chaos I felt within, and yet, amidst the cacophony, a new understanding began to unfurl. I had spent so long trying to distance myself from the haunting shadows of the past, the betrayals grinding at the edges of my family's legacy. But now, the very essence of who I was, who I had become, hinged on embracing that past, particularly the darkness it contained. As the tempest howled, pulling me deeper into its turbulent embrace, the vibrations around me shifted. The spirits surged, their ethereal forms swirling violently in response to the torrential energy crackling in the air. "Let go!" The warrior's voice pierced through the roar, and I felt a rush of realization intermingled with fear. The shadows did not merely seek vengeance or recognition, they craved acknowledgement, a chance to transcend beyond their pain, to find peace within the turmoil. "Arya." Elder S' voice broke through once more, steadying yet fierce. "You must wield the truth with unyielding resolve. You are the bridge between worlds, do not falter." With her words energizing my spirit, I understood it was not enough to merely uncover the legacy of pain. I had to bring the light of forgiveness and understanding into that legacy to heal the generational wounds. I stood tall, summoning the stories woven into my lineage, the camaraderie, the bravery, and the love that thrummed beneath the conflict. "I see you," I shouted into the tempest, my voice clear and resolute. "I honor your fight, your struggle for what you believed was right. Tell me your truth." The shadows recoiled for a moment, as if hesitating at the threshold of my invitation. Then, as if responding to my sincerity, they coalesced, the tempest forcing itself to ebb into a swirling vortex of silent yearning. Slowly, the ethereal forms steadied, revealing patches of faces caught in myriad moments, from fierce warriors battling for glory to lost souls overwhelmed by despair. And then, like a tide washing away the detritus of sorrow, I began to hear their stories, each narrative unfolding before me like petals unfurling under the sun. What began as screams of anguish transformed into whispers of hope. I felt an echo resonate through my very core, the shame of betrayal, yes, but also the relentless churn of love buried beneath layers of tragedy. Together, we seek understanding. Together, we shall reclaim your stories, I urged, encouraged by the flickering warmth of their presence blending harmoniously with mine. This was not merely about me confronting their shadows, it was a union of hearts striving for recognition and healing, but the storm, relentless in its fury, roared again as if to deter me, shadows battering against my resolve. You think to uncover the truth? To change the narrative? The malevolent whisper cut through the air, chilling me to the bone. The past holds power, one that you are not equipped to wield. The warrior stepped forward. In his glare, I sensed a challenge, a rallying call resonating deeply. We stand united because of you. Do not let doubt return us to shackles. My heart thundered as I matched his intensity, focusing on the glowing ember of love radiating from my essence, unwavering amidst the storm's malevolence. I vow to tell your stories, I declared fiercely. Your sacrifices will not be forgotten. I embrace you, flaws and all, and I will redefine our legacy. In response, the wind carried my words like a beacon, bursting forth with an energy that began to push against the darkness. The shadows surged, swirling, and then, a blinding light erupted from within me, illuminating the storm with soft hues that spread through the darkness like tendrils of hope. The shrieks morphed into gasps of realization as I felt the weight of understanding blanket over the confusion. The shadows began to waver, flickering as though contemplating the power that resided within acceptance. Let go of your anger. Let the truth be known, I implored once more, channeling the collective histories we so desperately needed to confront. Be brave, the spectre echoed with earnest, their forms shimmering as an unbreakable thread of unity connected us. Together, we shall reclaim our fate. As the light continued to break free within the storm, past and present coalescing into a single, resonant heartbeat, I began to see clarity amidst the chaos. The tortured expressions morphed into something ethereal and serene, transitioning into figures who had once fought and fallen, now holding a glimmer of hope. I felt their battle transform before my eyes, not as a violent clash but as a beautiful tapestry of struggles interwoven with newfound strength. With each story I embraced, each painful truth I acknowledged, the colors grew vibrant, illuminating the murky depths of resentment and anger that had once threatened to tether me to despair. Suddenly, the storm shuddered, its vicious wind softening to whispers as the shadows began to transform into specters of light. Peace swept over the battleground I had once feared, wrapping itself around my heart like a protective hug as the energy shifted to a more profound understanding, and then, as if washing away the residue of past confrontations and bitterness, the voice of my mother broke through the remnants of the storm. Thank you, my brave child. Her presence radiated warmth, the connection rekindling what I had always known. This is not simply a confrontation, this is redemption for you and for us. My heart soared, and as I felt the tether to her strengthen, I knew my journey had reached a resolution. Yes, the truth of my lineage had been riddled with betrayal, but love and understanding wove the very fabric of that history, an intricate design woven through generations. The storm quieted, and as the last echo of turmoil faded into tranquility, I took a deep breath, feeling lighter, more empowered. I had uncovered the heart-stopping battles of not just my ancestors but the beauty of what it meant to fight for one another, no matter the cost. They were not just mired in darkness, they were luminous stories of resilience, brave hearts unyielding against the tides of time. Now, I wasn't merely a keeper of their tales, I was the continuation of their legacy, a bridge intertwining their strengths, sacrifices, and love, and in that moment, bathed in light, surrounded by the whispers of comfort, I finally realized that I stood not alone, but eternally connected to the past and fortified for whatever lay ahead. The past is not simply a burden, it is a journey of understanding and love, I whispered, the finality of the realization zipping through me like a symphony. In the shadows I once feared, the weight of history transformed into wings, propelling me forward into the future. It was a precious gift, the softest of reminders that I carried not just my story, but theirs, reclaiming our narrative, complex yet beautiful, heavy yet liberating, bound forever by the echoes of love. And as I closed my eyes, ready to embrace the path ahead, I knew that no matter how heavy the past might feel, all that was truly necessary to reclaim both their legacies and my own was the unwavering strength to love with every fragment of my being. My heart soared as I etched these words lightly onto the scrolls of time. In the embrace of our stories, we rise, together.